I'd read the Bible, like in, I think when I was 18, what I called churchianity.
Yes,
you know,
tiring.
In my teens and at the time, and that's what really brought me back, because that was the beginning of what it was really all about, was a personal relationship with Jesus Christ.
Fame promises everything: money, applause, doors that never close. But what happens when the spotlight suddenly turns cold? When the world cheers one moment and erases you the next? For some of the biggest names in entertainment, the choice to follow Jesus came with a price no one expected. Careers stalled. Phones went silent. Friends disappeared. The industry that once celebrated them now mocked or abandoned them. This isn't a story of quiet faith. It's a story of public courage under impossible pressure, where obedience meant loss, risk, and what looked like failure. And yet, in the ashes of rejection, something extraordinary happened. Lives shifted, purpose returned, and outcomes shocked the very people who once doubted them. Tonight, we uncover the hidden truth behind fame, faith, and the cost, and reveal what came next when everything else fell apart. When faith cost them the spotlight. For many celebrities, the first thing to go wasn't money or fame, it was visibility. The bright lights they had walked into suddenly felt dim. Roles that once flowed like clockwork became scarce. Interviews they used to give without hesitation disappeared. Even casual support from colleagues and friends began to fade. The industry didn't always react with loud criticism or public shaming. Sometimes it happened quietly, almost imperceptibly, like a slow slide into shadow. One week a star is everywhere, the next they're a name that feels forgotten. Patricia Heaton experienced this firsthand. She wasn't a struggling actor trying to get noticed. She was at the height of her career. Everybody Loves Raymond had made her a household name. Her face was familiar in millions of homes.
Everybody watched Everybody Loves Raymond. Today, there's less and less of those shows that bring us all together.
Advertisers wanted her. Studios wanted her. Agents wanted her. But then she spoke openly about her Catholic faith and her pro-life views. There was no scandal. No insults are hurled on social media like we see today. Just honesty. A clear statement about what she believed. And suddenly, Hollywood shifted. Casting offers dropped. Conversations that used to be warm and casual turned distant. Friends in the industry became polite strangers. No argument, no conflict, just a quiet withdrawal of opportunity and attention. It was as if the universe had decided to test her commitment. Timing made it even harder. This wasn't early in her career when rejection might have been expected. This was at the very peak. The stage was set for bigger roles, wider recognition, and further success. But her faith didn't lift her forward. It tested her. Every project she was considered for became a question. Would her belief make her difficult to work with? And slowly, the answer seemed to be yes, at least in Hollywood's eyes. This pattern is not unique.
There was the hippie movement, and within the hippie movement there were Jesus freaks.
Many stars, when choosing Jesus publicly, discovered that faith could cost visibility faster than any scandal could. The industry doesn't always fight loudly against belief. Sometimes it just looks the other way. When opportunities dry up silently, it creates a strange kind of pressure. It forces reflection. It asks, am I ready to pay this price? For Patricia and others like her, the answer had to be yes. Faith had become more important than the applause, the paycheck, or the next role. Choosing Jesus didn't always come with a dramatic headline. In many cases, it brought silence. And in Hollywood, silence can feel louder than rejection. When no one calls, when doors don't open, when the buzz that once surrounded your name vanishes, it can feel like an unspoken verdict. Many celebrities questioned themselves. They wondered if the timing was wrong, if the decision was naive, or if they had miscalculated their future. The fear that the career they had built would collapse completely loomed over them. But what if this loss wasn't meant to punish them? What if it was preparing them? Preparation for something bigger, something lasting. Sometimes faith asks for a pause, a slowdown, or even a complete halt in worldly momentum. The world sees only absence. God, some say, sees only space for something new to grow. Patricia Heaton, by staying true, showed a quiet courage. She didn't fight Hollywood. She didn't compromise her beliefs to fit in. Instead, she allowed the silence to speak. The industry moved on, yes, but her life and her priorities were now being guided by something stronger than career metrics or applause. This experience also reveals a truth about timing and perspective. When visibility is lost at the peak of success, it feels catastrophic. When it fades gradually, it can feel like slow rejection. But for many, that fading spotlight creates clarity. They begin to notice the people, relationships, and opportunities that truly matter. They discover that being remembered for talent or roles is fleeting, but being remembered for character, faith, and integrity lasts far beyond the stage or the screen. Silence, in this way, becomes a teacher. Patricia's story, and others like hers, remind us that when faith costs you the spotlight, it also gives you perspective. The world might stop calling, but God's work in someone's life doesn't pause. Loss can be preparation. The slow fade isn't always a failure. Sometimes it is the very path to discovering purpose, resilience, and true influence. And as surprising as it sounds, the very moments when fame retreats often become the moments that shape the heart most profoundly. The stage might be empty, but the life behind it is fuller, richer, and far more aligned with something eternal. When everything looked like failure. Sometimes the moment before a breakthrough feels like the very edge of collapse. Not just in the headlines, not just in public perception, but deep down, where no one can see. Dennis Quaid's story is a vivid example of that hidden collapse. To the outside world, he had it all. Fame, fortune, and respect roles in blockbuster films that defined Hollywood in the 80s. Top Gun, The Right Stuff, Great Balls of Fire are names that spark admiration even decades later. But behind the smiling interviews and the red carpet appearances, Quaid was struggling in silence. Addiction crept into the corners of his life, unnoticed until it couldn't be ignored. The moment of reckoning didn't happen on a film set or in a magazine scandal. It happened at home. His young son, innocent and unaware, discovered what Quaid had tried to hide.
Your dad, people tell you that all the time, I'm sure.
Various fractions of both of my parents.
It wasn't just a discovery of substances, it was the shattering of identity. In that instant, everything he thought defined his success, control, and respect felt hollow. The public still loved the actor, still cheered his performances, but Quaid's personal world had been cracked wide open. And in that fracture, he found a sliver of clarity. Quaid didn't react with anger, denial, or excuses. He turned to prayer. For the first time in years, he sought guidance not from managers, therapists, or publicists, but from God. He described a moment of startling clarity, almost like a vision. Two paths stretched before him. One path led to continued destruction, more addictions, more broken relationships, more despair. The other led through surrender, humility, and faith, a journey that wouldn't erase the consequences, but offered a way to navigate them with purpose. Choosing that path wasn't easy. Recovery demanded grueling effort. Trust had to be rebuilt in Hollywood circles, and opportunities had to be regained. The climb wasn't instant, but direction returned, anchored in faith rather than fear. Justin Bieber's journey echoed a similar pattern, though on a scale amplified by global fame. He was 16 when the world's spotlight found him. Sold-out arenas, platinum hits, and adoring fans made him a living icon. Yet fame arrived too early, too fast, and left him unprepared for the pressure that followed. Isolation crept in alongside the applause. Arrests, public breakdowns, and relentless scrutiny became part of daily life. The boy who once performed for the love of music found himself trapped in a cycle of expectation, rebellion, and exhaustion. Choosing Jesus didn't shield him from this storm.
I really took a deep dive in my faith, to be honest. I just went deep into, I believed in Jesus.
It didn't erase the arrests or the ridicule. In fact, it intensified the scrutiny. Fans questioned his sincerity. Media outlets mocked his transformation. Those who had once cheered his every move now debated his faith and motives. But behind the headlines, a quieter, more powerful change was taking place. His life began to stabilize, not in perfection, but in purpose. Relationships mended, his music reflected deeper values, and private faith became a source of resilience he had never known before. What connects these stories, Quade, Bieber, and other, is a vital truth. Faith doesn't rescue someone from pain or shield them from consequences. It doesn't hand a life back on a silver platter or instantly rewrite failures. What it does is provide a framework for survival, a compass for decision-making, and a source of strength when all else seems lost. The difference between those who recover and those who continue to spiral often lies not in talent or luck, but in the willingness to surrender and trust in something beyond themselves. Failure in these cases was not the end. It was the doorway. The world saw mistakes, chaos, and scandal. Behind closed doors, there was reflection, prayer, and the rebuilding of character. What appeared to be a collapse was, in truth, the prelude to transformation. Each step through despair became a step toward purpose. Each setback became a lesson, shaping not just careers, but entire lives. Faith didn't remove the pain, it gave meaning to it, a path through it, and ultimately a foundation on which to rise stronger than before. When obedience looked irrational. Some choices didn't make sense to anyone looking from the outside. They didn't look spiritual. They looked reckless. Choices that, on paper, seemed like guaranteed failure. And yet, for some celebrities, these decisions were not about fame, recognition, or money. They were about conviction, about doing what they felt God was asking them to do, no matter the cost. Kevin Costner is a perfect example. After years of Hollywood success, the man behind Dances with Wolves, The Bodyguard, and Field of Dreams wasn't struggling to stay relevant. He didn't need validation. But he was drawn to a story many studios considered outdated, risky, even foolish, a Western called Horizon, an American saga. Every major studio turned him down. They said it was too expensive, too niche, too difficult to sell. And still, Costner did something almost unheard of in Hollywood. He invested $38 million of his own money into a project everyone expected to fail. Most people around him doubted the decision. Advisors whispered warnings. Friends questioned his judgment. The public had no reason to believe in it. Yet Costner moved forward. He later shared that his faith shaped his patience and timing, helping him trust that the right outcome wasn't about immediate approval. His actions looked irrational to everyone else, but for him, it was obedience. Mel Gibson's story mirrored that pattern, though on an even larger scale. After years of personal chaos, scandals, and public scrutiny, Gibson felt a deep calling. He wanted to tell the story of Jesus' crucifixion, raw and unfiltered. Not a symbolic or sanitized version, but a depiction that showed the full weight of sacrifice. Studios refused to touch it. Agents told him it would ruin his career. Friends distanced themselves, worried he was making a mistake. Yet Gibson poured $25 million of his own money into the Passion of the Christ. At the time, it seemed impossible. Hollywood had closed its doors. The risk wasn't just financial, it was personal. Every failure would be public. And yet he trusted the prompting he felt in his heart. Obedience carried him forward, even when logic suggested retreat. The result stunned the world. The Passion of the Christ became one of the highest-grossing R-rated films in history, earning over $600 million worldwide. Beyond numbers, it sparked conversations about Jesus on a global scale. Millions saw the story of the crucifixion in a way that changed the cultural conversation. The film's success wasn't guaranteed. It was a miracle that flowed from a decision rooted in faith, not strategy. This pattern isn't unique to Costner or Gibson. In many lives, faith demands choices that don't make sense to the outside world. It asks people to risk comfort, reputation, and even relationships. It challenges pride and security. Obedience sometimes looks irrational because it ignores conventional wisdom. It ignores the safe, predictable path. And yet, the outcomes often reveal a bigger picture. Doors open in ways no one could have planned. Influence grows quietly but powerfully. Conversations happen that would never have started without the bold step. Obedience becomes proof that following faith can carry a weight beyond logic, beyond numbers, beyond expectation. Faith doesn't always ask for safe choices. Sometimes it asks for uncomfortable ones. Choices that feel risky, even foolish. Decisions that, if measured by worldly success alone, might seem like failure. But the story of those who took those steps shows something extraordinary. Obedience, even when irrational, can create impact far greater than anyone imagined. In Hollywood, obedience often looks like stepping off a cliff. But for those willing to take that step, the fall can lead to a place far higher than any spotlight could reach. When quiet faith changed everything. Not every story of faith is loud or dramatic. Some transformations happen in the silence of everyday life, away from flashing cameras and tabloids. The impact is no less powerful. In fact, sometimes it's stronger because it is consistent, patient, and deeply personal. These stories prove that faith doesn't always demand spectacle. It often works quietly, behind the scenes, shaping character, choices, and destiny. Tom Hanks is a perfect example. Rarely does he give speeches about God or make grand declarations of faith.
What you learn is the fear never goes away, but you do develop a faith that you will get there.
But over the years, he has shared glimpses of how his beliefs guide him. Raised in a childhood that exposed him to multiple religious teachings, Catholic, Mormon, Nazarene, and even Judaism, Hanks experienced confusion early on. Instead of rebelling or ignoring spirituality, he gradually built a foundation through marriage, daily discipline, and reflection. His wife, Rita Wilson, played a pivotal role in this journey. Together, they found a consistent rhythm of worship, prayer, and moral grounding. Hanks didn't lose fame for his faith. Hollywood didn't mock him, but faith gave him something else: stability, purpose, and a steady compass in an unpredictable industry. He learned that quiet consistency can shape more than applause ever could. Eddie Murphy, too, navigated fame in a way that many peers did not. During the peak of his career in the 1980s, comedy and acting could have pulled him into chaos. Addiction, burnout, and personal crises destroyed many careers around him. But Murphy credits prayer and Christian values for keeping him centered. His faith was not a performance, it was an anchor. It allowed him to make choices that protected his peace, his family, and his creative vision. He didn't announce sermons from a stage. He lived his faith quietly, through his actions, decisions, and priorities. And sometimes, living faith quietly makes the strongest statement, because it shows results over rhetoric. Nicole Kidman's journey illustrates another dimension of quiet faith. For years, she explored belief systems that never fully resonated, including Scientology during her marriage to Tom Cruise. When the marriage ended, she returned to the Catholic faith of her childhood. The world watched and speculated. Some friends questioned her choices. Critics whispered about timing or motivation. But what changed wasn't fame, it was her inner life. Faith offered clarity where previously there was confusion. It brought peace in a time of personal upheaval. Her career continued, but her life gained a deeper stability that Hollywood success alone could never provide. These examples reveal an important truth. Faith does not need to shout to transform. It does not need to create headlines, viral moments, or controversy. Often it works in subtle ways, shaping resilience, character, and decision-making. Quiet faith strengthens patience, sharpens judgment, and provides direction when life feels chaotic. It is the steady hand on the wheel during storms, the compass pointing forward when the path seems unclear. For celebrities like Hanks, Murphy, and Kidman, faith did not rescue them from challenges, but it gave them the tools to navigate those challenges with integrity and wisdom. The lesson is clear. Transformation through faith is not always visible. It doesn't always attract attention or spark debate. Sometimes it simply steadies. It gives perspective, peace, and strength in a world that often demands drama, applause, and instant results. And in that quiet, consistent practice, lives can change profoundly, proving that faith's power is often strongest when it whispers rather than shouts. When purpose replaced applause. Denzel Washington's journey shows how purpose can outshine even the loudest applause. From a young age, an elderly woman told him he would speak to millions, and for a moment, he imagined ministry or preaching from a pulpit. Life had other plans. Hollywood became his platform. Even at the height of fame, from Glory to Training Day and Malcolm X, Denzel never let the spotlight distract him from faith. It wasn't about public recognition. It was about living intentionally, behind the camera, away from red carpets and interviews. He invested in mentoring young men, funding Bible colleges, and quietly supporting communities. Faith shaped every decision, not for headlines, but to leave a lasting impact. Each role he accepted, each project he supported, reflected a deeper commitment to purpose over praise. Applause might have filled theaters, but it was Denzel's daily dedication, the quiet choices behind the scenes, that built a legacy beyond Hollywood. Tim Tebow's path took this lesson even further. On the football field, he became a household name, a phenomenon with his Tebowing moments and Heisman Trophy win. Yet his faith was controversial. Analysts mocked him for being too religious. Teams doubted his commitment to football, and despite his talent, his NFL career ended earlier than expected. But Tebow's story wasn't about fame. It was about impact. Losing the cheers of stadiums did not silence him. Instead, it expanded his purpose. Foundations for orphans, support for children with disabilities, and advocacy for vulnerable communities became the new arena where he inspired millions. The platforms changed, but the mission stayed the same. Public admiration faded, but the lives he touched multiplied in ways applause never could. Candace Cameron Bure offers yet another example of choosing values over visibility. At the height of her career on networks like Hallmark, she faced a difficult decision: continue working with a network whose direction no longer aligned with her personal beliefs, or step away. She chose the latter, knowing backlash and public criticism would follow. Yet walking away gave her something far more valuable than temporary recognition: freedom. Freedom to create, to work on projects that honored her faith, and to build a platform without compromise. It was not the red carpet or trending headlines that mattered. It was integrity and lasting impact. Her story reminds us that sometimes losing the applause is exactly what allows purpose to shine. All three stories converge on a single truth: applause fades, but purpose endures. Fame can be fleeting, awards can gather dust, and recognition can vanish overnight. But when your choices are anchored in purpose, in values, in faith, the results outlast the spotlight. The difference lies in perspective, viewing life as a stage for impact rather than entertainment. When purpose replaces applause, every action, every project, and every sacrifice gains a deeper significance. In the end, Denzel, Tebow, and Candace show that legacy is measured not in claps or contracts, but in lives touched, integrity preserved, and missions fulfilled. Purpose doesn't seek attention. It seeks transformation. And often it is in stepping away from the noise, the cameras, and the temporary glory that true influence begins. Because applause fades, but purpose, once discovered and followed, lasts forever. These stories don't promise comfort. They promise honesty. Choosing Jesus didn't protect these celebrities from loss. In many cases, it caused it. Careers slowed, reputations shifted, comfort disappeared. But what followed wasn't emptiness. It was a direction. What makes these journeys powerful isn't fame regained. Its identity is restored, peace found, purpose rebuilt. Some careers returned stronger, others changed shape completely. But none of them stayed the same. Faith didn't give them everything back the way it was. It gave them something deeper than applause, something that didn't disappear when cameras turned off. And that's the part that shocks people, because the real miracle wasn't success. It was a transformation. If these stories made you think, share your thoughts in the comments. If you found value here, support the channel by liking and subscribing. And stay with us, because more stories like these are waiting to be uncovered. Stories that remind us what truly lasts when everything else falls away.